If you look up the word cheap on etymology, that's the new way we're going to say it. This week in I've Got a Cold, which means I also have quite a cool voice, so I've been walking around the flat saying things like, I will find you, for, kitchen utensils or keys or something. Chap and cheap. Chap is a word which I use quite regularly. I don't know whether you have noticed this, but I'm lingually quite adventurous. I quite enjoy being foul-mouthed the first half of a sentence and then maybe quite eloquent for the second half. Or at least that's what I like to think in my head. It's more likely I just sound like a complete idiot most of the time, but, hey-ho. So, chap, I use it in a variety of situations. I mostly use it when I talk to children, so it's a term of endearment. Amusingly, the Urban Dictionary uses the word chap, well, one of the entries is using the chap as a noun specifically to refer to children, with the example being, tell those chaps to go to bed. Now, you would be right in thinking that this phrase tends to be associated with, well, certainly a certain type of Englishness. It is very much a British English phrase. It is also something that you would associate with, let's say, the mobile classes. These days, although it is still used by the mobile classes, those with expensive educations and large houses, it is also used by, let's say, well, I think the aspirational middle classes, those who maybe enjoy a good moustache and know how to smoke a pipe. I would invite you to look up the magazine or periodical known as The Chap, which may or may not sponsor the pipe smoking championship. Have you heard of that? Where basically you get like 3 matches, I think, and then a pipe, and then it's however long you can keep it going. I think, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure that Stephen Fry won that one year. I mean, there's a definition of a chap, Stephen Fry. Now, I rather enjoy the whole concept of a chap, and I'd find it quite amusing, but also all of the kind of warm fuzziness that surrounds it, the Englishness, the benign part of Englishness, at least anyway. But then I don't feel like I quite have the breeding, which is, one of the most English things I think I've ever said. Certainly one of the most English things I've ever said on this particular video, vlog, word tube. So, the etymology. Well, I should at this point briefly say that the word chap, as in a term of endearment for a fellow human being, or mostly men, is not related to the term chap, meaning a pair of leather leggings, which are associated with cowboys and also the YMCA for some reason. That word has its etymology, or has its roots, in a low thorny bush, a Spanish word for a low thorny bush called a chaparral, or a chaparral. I don't know how you say that. My best friend is half Spanish and she's probably shouting at the screen right now. Chap, as in my dear fellow, comes from an obsolete term for a tradesman, or to barter, or a customer. Those people were known as Chapman, so if you know anybody with a surname Chapman, he's a tradesman. The chap part of that particular word, that particular noun, coming from an old Germanic, or high, as it's described, high Germanic word, meaning trade or to barter. Later on, it turned into a term of endearment for a man or a boy. It is interesting to note at this point, I think, that because of the etymology of this particular phrase, the particular noun, it is actually genderless. So although we all sort of feel that a chap is a man or a boy, actually you could refer to a woman or a girl as a chap as well. But how does this relate to the word cheap? Nobody is saying. I'm saying it right now. Well, interestingly, the word cheap and the word chap have the same root. If you look up the word cheap on Etymology Online, you will find that they take it a step further from the word chap, that actually it seems to be a step back. So we end up at the High German for barter or trade or sales or customer, but also that turns out to be a loan word from Latin. That word being caupo or corpo. I don't really know how to say it, to be honest. Again, I don't know how to say it. It's an ancient Latin word. If anybody's out there who knows how to say it, can you tell me, please? It's spelt C-A-U-P-O, meaning a petty tradesman or huckster, which is a great word. We'll have to do a video on that at some point. Or a peddler, which is also a great word. Or a cauponari. Again, C-A-U-P H-A-G-O-N-A-R-I, meaning to haggle. Isn't that interesting? I was completely taken away by that. These two seemingly disparate words, chap and cheap, one, well, almost has a gilded meaning. It sort of comes from a gilded class, I guess. And the other one where, well, it conjures up images of cheap clothing shops. Do you remember B-Wise? I remember B-Wise. Or Bon Marché. I think they're probably still a thing, probably. Unless, of course, they've been caught in the Amazon blast radius of the high street apocalypse. Incidentally, Bon Marché means favourable bargain. Anyway, speaking of favourable bargains, I said earlier on the phrase "my dear fellow," which actually also... Oh, I've just found a driving glove. That's interesting. Anyway, speaking of favourable bargains, I said the phrase "my dear fellow" earlier on, which actually also happens to be the name of a short story I wrote. You can, by the way, if you're watching this not on YouTube, i.e. not on the YouTube site, but through a portal via either Facebook or Instagram, you won't see these things that I'm pointing at. But if you're on YouTube, you will see these things that I'm pointing at. And then you can push a digit right into them and then see the videos or make a subscribe or something. Either way, here is the story, "My dear fellow," and here is another video about words. I need to push my finger in a little bit more there, and if you press onto my face you can do a subscribe. Yes, you can. You too can do a subscribe. Well done then. Have a good week, and I hope that, I mean, at least it's sunny today. Have a good week then. Bye.